What has come before. Prologue. He was an ordinary man with ordinary dreams until the dead rose up. The dreams became a nightmare. The nightmare ended, or began anew, on a rain-slick road as he rounded a corner on his motorcycle and came upon a mob of the dead waiting for him. He crashed, and when he awakened, he saw he was dead and that a part of his old self remained. But he could not feel. That was when he decided his name would be Hitch. He found others like himself, thinking dead ones who had plans for the world, plans he could not abide. He tried to stop them and earned a death sentence. He fled to Texas, where a woman named Dakota had led him to the little Hitler, a madman with a terrible weapon with which he might rule the world. Hitch wanted the weapon to destroy those others who sought to destroy him. The weapon was lost with the little Hitler, but Hitch salvaged two things from the ashes of the little Hitler's fortress: a nuclear device and a desire to know what his purpose would be in this strange new afterlife. And so, with his hydrogen bomb, Hitch traveled north in search of the thinking dead who would have him die again. Into the frozen, snowy fields of Michigan. It was December. December, a tale of Hitch, the Roadkill. Written by Del Stone Jr., illustrated by David Dorman and Scott Hampton. Published by Rolling Thunder Graphics. Waterloo, Michigan, 5 days before Christmas. The land is ghosted with cold and drifts of snow, and a quality of silence that whispers of immaculate isolation. The Harley-Davidson sits on the snow-felted berm of U.S. Highway 27, its motor ticking quietly. A black and white checkered cone protrudes from the sidecar, its arming circuit telltale blinking somnolently. A grime-covered decal reads, Pantex Division, Mark 80 nuclear warhead, effective yield 50 kilotons. A Christmas gift for the ones who tried to kill Hitch. He stands in the snow beside the Harley, gazing across the field of white beyond the road. A Medusa snarl of wires runs through his clothes, his bones, his frosted intestines, coming together in a jury-rigged connector fastened to a pair of Sears die-hard batteries strapped to his back. The electric current is all that keeps his body from seizing up in the bitter Midwest cold. That thought arises in his mind as he stares across the field at the forest of zombies. Thousands of zombies, frozen in place, their feeble minds still dimly active, but their muscles and flesh immobilized by the sub-zero temperature. Only once before has Hitch seen such a gathering of the living dead. Amarillo, the killing fields outside the little Hitler's encampment called Spandau. Gone now, wiped out by Hitch and the woman Dakota and the very zombie hordes the little Hitler sought to destroy. Spandau had been the last great coming together of zombies. Until this. In the distance, a web of smoke begins to rise and unravel in the gray sky. Hitch can hear a faint sound, the sputtering of a chainsaw, and laughter. He slips into the dense thicket of zombies and unlimbers his meat hook, wrapping the chain around his shoulder. He creeps toward the smoke as stealthily as the treacherous footing will allow. As he moves closer, he hears human voices, boisterous shouting and cheers and laughter. The chainsaw revs to the sound of cackling. Closer still until he sees them. A group of men, bundled into fur-lined jackets and heavy mittens and ski masks. The man bearing the chainsaw is dressed in a heart-attack red Santa Claus costume. The effect is as skewed and corrupt as anything Hitch has seen since the time the dead first rose to walk again. The men are lopping off the heads of frozen zombies and tossing them into a furious bonfire. Hitch can smell the stink of roasting flesh. He can see the zombies grimacing within the pyre, trying to chew their way out of the flames as heat unlocks their flesh moments before consuming it. Hitch fingers the meat hook. He has no allegiance to these zombies, but the men might be able to tell him how this assembly of dead ones came about, and if it was the work of the one he seeks, the one to whom he'll deliver the holiday cheer in his sidecar. But before he can map out a proper plan of attack, a patch of ice softens beneath his foot, and he slips and falls into plain view. One of the men points and shouts, "Will you look at that? A friggin' zombie, and it's moving!" They scramble to flank him, moving clumsily in the ankle-deep snow, their balance thrown off by the double-bladed axes they carry. The man dressed as Santa lifts the chainsaw blade menacingly and clamps down on the throttle, spraying noise and smoke into the blue-gray afternoon. He walks straight towards Hitch. Hitch gives the meat hook an anticipatory rattle and slides to his left, where two men are circling to trap him. He swings the meat hook and lets it fly at the man nearest him. It zings around the handle of the man's axe. Hitch jerks, and the axe flies from the man's grasp. The other man jumps him. They do a shambling ballet in the snow as Hitch tries to reach around his back and smash at the man with a fist of bones. Hitch shoves an elbow into the man's solar plexus, and the air whooshes out of him, and he falls away, just as the others, who had been approaching from Hitch's right, leap into the fight. The meat hook chain is hopelessly tangled around the axe handle. Hitch casts about for a weapon, then seizes a frozen zombie and rips it from the ground. He swings it like an oversized club, smashing into the men nearest him. The zombie's body shatters. Hitch uproots another zombie, and then he feels it. The cold. He glances down and sees the battery connector dangling at his side. In the fight, somehow, it has come loose. He attacks the men in a frenzy, flailing at them with rock-hard legs and arms splintered from the forest of corpses surrounding them. But his muscles are becoming slow to respond. The cold is soaking through his dead flesh, down to his bones. If he doesn't reconnect the batteries, soon now he'll be as immobile and helpless as the creatures around him. He presses the attack, and the men who are still walking suddenly flee. Only the Santa Man remains, and behind him, warmth. The fire. A chance for Hitch to unlock his moribund flesh, to get the clamps fastened to the battery posts. Hitch creeps towards the Santa Man, waggling a ragged stump of a leg like a club, his body bent over in a crippled parody of a fighter's stance. The Santa Man throttles up the chainsaw and grins, the white ball at the end of his cap swaying merrily behind his neck. He seems to understand what is happening to Hitch, and takes his time moving forward. He feints and thrusts, and cackles ho 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 as he dodges Hitch's slow motion thrusts. Hitch tries to maneuver around him, and the Santa Man jumps to fill the gap between Hitch and the fire. He slams into the half-thawed zombie and knocks it out of the way. It lies on the ground, writhing feebly. Hitch's left arm refuses to unbend. It's as rigid as a freezer-burned slab of beef. He swings the leg again and misses the Santa Man in a ridiculous arc that carries him past the man. And then he's stumbling, falling, plowing into the snow face first, his vision suddenly clouded over by white. He feels a boot land squarely in his back. A mittened hand grabs him by the hair of his head, at first ripping out shreds of frizzy hair and twisted clumps. He sees the Santa Man looming over him, a corruption of Christmas glee, as a chainsaw blade dips to Hitch's throat. "I will not die again." And then the Santa Man is screaming, the saw tumbling out of his grasp to lie in the snow beside Hitch's face, sputtering on idle. Hitch rolls and uses his good arm to heft the saw. The Santa Man is down and flailing at the half-thawed zombie that has bitten through the fabric of his red pants to rip away a chunk of his calf. The fire has warmed Hitch's arm enough that he can flex his fingers, and he grabs the Santa Man by the throat and hauls him toward the fire. Movement slowly returns to Hitch's muscles. He levels the chainsaw at the Santa Man's neck and squeezes the throttle. The Santa Man's eyes snap open, and his jaw quivers as the howling blade chops cold air a slim inch above his flesh. "What brought these dead ones to this place?" Hitch shouts. The Santa Man watches the blade in terror and does not speak, so Hitch bears down on the saw again, producing a squall of decibels and exhaust. The Santa Man's eyes wander in the sockets and settle dumbfoundedly on Hitch. "What brought these dead ones to this place? Tell me, or the next time you slide down a chimney, they'll be in neat little pieces." "The golem!" the Santa Man screams. "The golem! It was the golem!" "What golem? What do you mean?" "Like you," he babbles. "A zombie, a talking zombie, only bigger. It had an army. This army, and it was looking for something. It thought the people had it." "What people?" "The people north of here. Refugees. They banded together, built a camp, and the golem killed them all." Hitch tips the chainsaw blade closer to the Santa Man's throat. "What did they have that this golem wanted?" "I don't know," the Santa Man blubbers. "But it wanted it real bad, real bad. When it didn't find what it wanted, it left its army and took off." "Where?" "California," the Santa Man blurts, his gaze turning back to the blade. "You're gonna kill me, aren't you? Don't do that." "Where in California?" "You're gonna kill me." "Where?" Hitch shouts. The blade howls barely a quarter inch above the man's flesh. "Death Valley!" he screeches, then begins wailing uncontrollably. Hitch stands and cuts off the chainsaw. The silence falls over them like a sudden change in air pressure. He unshoulders the batteries and begins rethreading the wires into the clamps. And when he's finished, he bolts the clamps to the battery posts. Mobility flows into his muscles. The Santa Man is curled into himself, weeping. "Have you heard about any other talking zombies around here?" Hitch says to the man. The Santa Man shakes his fist, a gesture almost lost within the hitching of his sobs. "Gone. Gone." "Gone where?" The Santa Man whispers into the snow. "Who knows? It came and left. Maybe the golem knows." Hitch nods. He hefts the packaging of the batteries and slips the straps over his shoulders. He picks up the chainsaw. The Santa Man turns and squints through his tears at Hitch. "Are you going to kill me?" Hitch trudges off into the snow. He stoops to pick up the meat hook. Zombies close to the fire are beginning to unthaw. "Those things are coming to life." "Maybe this golem knows where the one I'm looking for is gone," Hitch tells himself. "Please, give me back my saw." What was that saying I once heard? "I'll die." "Go west, young man." "I can't die," the Santa Man shouts, his tone slipping into incredulity. "I'm Santa Claus. Santa Claus can't die." "I can be there in time for Christmas. I wonder what Santa will bring me. Please, they're coming closer. My God, there! Oh, that's right. There is no Santa. At least not now. Hitch almost chuckles as he threads his way through the forest of frozen zombies. Who would have thought? A zombie comedian. Behind him, the Sandman's screams mingle with smoke from the fire, until both are lost in the quiet white of the December afternoon. And the world is restored to silence. The end. Read by Joe DeNoia, Chesterfield, New Jersey. September 14th, 2022.